lesson is all about knowing thyself when we're talking about you and your future career. Two things. We're going to talk about your priorities, your interests, and your abilities. And we're also going to explore the topic of hard skills versus soft skills. Before we get started, make sure you've downloaded the worksheet that has 3 different sections, and that you've taken a few minutes to complete the first section, which relates to you and your brand. Then we're going to dive in and walk through section 2 and 3 together. This piece of paper is going to be important for you as we work through various assignments this semester. So let's talk about the first piece, understanding your priorities, your interests, and your abilities. This is all about you. Great quote to get us started. Candidates must always begin their job search by assessing their priorities, abilities, and interests. By doing this assessment in writing, it makes it, quote, real and gets you thinking about information that you'll be putting on your resume and discussing at the interview. That's the purpose of the worksheet today. By writing these things down, they become real to you and they help us figure out how we want to put your best foot forward on your resume and the types of things you're going to be discussing at the mock interview and in the future at real interviews. So this first piece, the priority piece, this is different for everyone. But when we're talking about a priority, we're talking about a thing that is regarded as more important than another thing. So think about for a second, what is most important to you when choosing a company to apply for or a position that you want to have in the future? The most important things. Let me give you some examples. It could be financial reward, so you want to earn the highest salary. It could be flexible work hours or setting your own work hours. It could be location, working close to or close to home or working from home. It could be the ability to travel if you want to travel with your company or perhaps not having to travel. There's no right or wrong answer here. This is a very personal decision. And these are just some examples. Your priority may not be on this list. It may be something completely different. No judgment here. Take a minute. I'm going to be quiet. I'd like you to list what are some of your priorities when you think about your future career. If you're stuck for some ideas, here's a few more. Perhaps job security is important to you, so having a job for a long time, or a job that allows advancement or training or promotion opportunities. Let's dig a little deeper. What about a job that's going to give you a high status or a great title? What about a job that allows some autonomy, the ability for you to work independently and set your own priorities? Again, I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. I'll be quiet. Write down some things that are a priority for you. Okay, I hope you've got a few things listed for priorities. Now let's talk about things that interest you, excite the curiosity or attention. What are some things that are going to give you a lot of satisfaction? Let me give you again a few examples, but these are just examples. Again, your list might look completely different than some of these. Would it excite you to do meaningful work? So something that has an impact on someone else's life or career. Does it excite you to work in a fast-paced work environment? What about working as part of a team? Does that excite you? Or the opposite, what about working independently? Take a minute to take note of some things that you think will interest you when it comes to your future career. Again, I'm going to give you a few more examples in case you're stuck. Does it interest you or excite you to have to deal with the public or conduct research or work on special projects or assignments or even have a lot of variety in your everyday activities or routines? Take a couple more seconds before we move on to the next piece. Okay, now that we've defined the first two pieces, on your worksheet, we're going to talk about some things that are related to your abilities, your marketable skills. So an ability is a talent, a skill, or a proficiency in a particular area. We possess a skill to do something. So we have some skills that are stronger than others. Think for a second about what are your marketable skills. These could be things like being self-motivated, which means you're able to work independently. Perhaps you're very curious. This really helps out a lot when conducting research. If you've ever been told that you're good at thinking outside the box, this relates to your ability to problem solve. What about being a great communicator? This can be an ability that lends itself to working with people and teams. And what about leadership? Leadership tends to speak to the ability to teach other people things and mentor others. So take note of some things in your abilities area on your worksheet. Here's a few more ideas for you. Again, great communication skills can lead to your ability to sell things or negotiate things, which is great if you're working in procurement, for instance. If you have excellent time management and priority skills, this really helps to be in charge of projects or tasks. If you're quite logical, working with numbers, with data, is a marketable skill. And time management can speak to a marketable skill of working under pressure and with deadlines. In preparation for a job search and an interview, you need to be able to answer these three critical questions. What are your priorities? What are your interests? And finally, what are your abilities? Feel free to pause me here if you haven't had time to finish this part of the worksheet, but make sure you take some time to really be detailed in these three areas. As I mentioned earlier, this worksheet is going to help you out tremendously as we look at the career roadmap assignment, as well as the upcoming resume and the interviews that you're going to be doing. So think about what's most important to you when choosing a company or a position, what's going to give you the most satisfaction, and finally, what are your marketable skills? So now on to this next piece. Here's another great quote. Today's life and work environments require far more than thinking skills and content knowledge. The ability to navigate complex life and work environments in the globally competitive information age requires students to pay rigorous attention to developing adequate life and career skills. What we're talking about here is the fact that employers today demand that you have a combination of soft and hard skills. So let's define soft and hard skills. I'd like you to continue completing your sheet as we think about these skills. Again, you're going to need these for future assignments. So work through the worksheet that you have as we walk through these and take note of your own hard and soft skills. So what are we talking about when we mean soft skills? Well, we talk about these as almost personality traits or social behaviors. We think about things like people who have friendliness, optimism, personal habits, that these are soft skills. They are somewhat less specialized and tend to be aligned with our general disposition or personality. They are skills that we learn as we grow up and mature. And they're really hard to teach, and they can be very hard to measure. For instance, if we say that someone is a good communicator, we tend to say that's somewhat of a soft skill. Well, how do I measure someone being a good communicator versus someone who I think is a great communicator? What's the measuring stick here? Or if I say that someone is optimistic, how do I measure optimistic? And how do I teach that skill to someone? These can be hard to get our arms around because they are hard to teach and hard to measure. And that's the unfortunate part. We want people to have these skills, and yet we struggle with how to teach these skills to people. We often group these together when we're talking about others as someone's character skills, transferable skills because they can be used in different situations, people skills, or even professional skills are all grouped under what we call soft skills. The thing with soft skills is they do make a big difference between an adequate and an ideal candidate in a job interview situation. The ability to interact and communicate positively and productively with others is really at the heart of these skills. They're all about this interaction piece, working with others. When people and employers talk about leadership potential, they are talking 100% about soft skills. That's important to remember. So when we're talking about advancing in our careers and people who move up in an organization, that leadership piece is really 100% soft skills. So here are some examples, and I'd like you again to take some note on your worksheet. Something like a strong work ethic is a soft skill. How do I teach it? How do I measure it? Someone who's self-motivated and responsible. A positive attitude. Leadership abilities. Communication skills. Verbal is definitely a soft skill. Written is somewhat measurable, but again, the way you write, the way you communicate things written, the ability to do so is considered a soft skill. Time management and problem-solving skills are soft skills, as is teamwork. Conflict resolution is a soft skill, and self-confidence. The ability to learn from and accept criticism from others is a soft skill, but an important one in the workplace today. Being flexible and adaptable, being decisive is a soft skill, responsible, and someone who works well under stress and pressure, so working with deadlines. Take a minute and jot down some of your soft skills. I'm sure you have many of these. And again, this will help us out as we start talking through some future assignments related to your future career. So now let's talk about hard skills. Well, these are very specific task or job abilities. We tend to acquire these through education and formal training. And they're very easy to define and easy to measure. And because of that, we can observe them by performing and testing. These are typically technical and academic in nature. If you think about the types of skills that you learn through school, these tend to be hard skills. So math skills, for instance, are hard skills. I can teach you a formula. I can then assess you on your ability to work through that formula. Or if you think about in a science class, I can teach you how to do an experiment and then stand back and observe the experiment. So these are skills that are easier to teach and easier to measure. Some examples of hard skills. Things like administrative tasks, analysis of something, design, editing, writing, so language skills, processes, and mechanical type skills. Even project management skills, where we're implementing things, are hard skills examples. Testing for sure. Reporting, programming, computer skills, digital literacy is a hard skill when we're talking about, for instance, the ability to use search engines, data analytics, social media savvy. Those are all hard skills examples. So think about some of your hard skills. Are you good at analysis? Do you speak multiple languages? Do you have mechanical abilities? Are you able to implement things? Test, report? Have you done any programming? These would be hard skill examples that I'd like you to take note of. When we're comparing hard skills to soft skills, we say that hard skills help us get things done. They're what we know, performance-based and focused on accomplishment of a task. Whereas soft skills make us teachable, how we act, the ability to work and share with others, if we're ready to learn, a positive and productive individual. So what I know versus how I act. So here's the bad news. Oh no, you're saying. I knew there was bad news coming. The bad news is you need both sets of skills, and employers demand that you have both. That's the bad news. The good news is you have both sets of skills. Here's the thing. If you take a look at the course outline, for instance, any course outline that you have at Durham College, we've actually divided up your hard skills and soft skills for you for every single course. Here's the course outline for procurement and supply management. On the left-hand side of the course outline, you see course-specific learning outcomes, what we call CLOs here at Durham College. And you'll notice that there are specific hard skills required for you to complete this course. But then on the right-hand side is something called essential employability skills. And we didn't develop this term, employers did. Employers said that there are these 9 ESSOs that they want students and every graduate to have. And these are the soft skills definitions. Communicating clearly, applying a systematic approach to solving problems, using a variety of thinking skills. This will help you when we're writing your resume accomplishment statements in a few weeks. I'll be encouraging you to refer back to your course outline to help you develop these accomplishment statements. But basically for today, I want you to understand that your course outlines really divide up for you hard skills versus soft skills that you're learning in each course that you're taking. In 2019, Forbes magazine published an employability skills requirement survey. And what they did was they asked companies what top skills they're looking for when it comes to their employees. Again, using your worksheet as we walk through some of these, I want you to continue filling this in terms of what skills do you have and maybe what do you need to develop, that part 3 of the sheet. First of all, Forbes magazine said that companies came forward and said that soft skills are as important as hard skills, and that they cannot teach hard skills to people without the soft skills. So basically what they're saying is they can't teach soft skills to us on the job. Companies don't have the time or the money. And they also said, the title of the article was, hard skills do not matter without soft skills. That was a pretty broad statement. So what were they looking for when it comes to these soft skills? The number one thing that companies are looking for is a positive attitude. Someone who's cheerful and upbeat, a can-do attitude, and they said a sense of humor is a plus. That's definitely a soft skill. If you have that, I want to make sure you've taken note of that on your worksheet. If you don't have this, I want you to list this in part 3 as something that you'd like to work on. The second one is great communication skills. Verbal and written, oral presentation skills are important. Able to organize your thoughts and present them to others. Number 3 is a strong work ethic. Working smart and working hard. Someone who's efficient and able to deliver results on time with a commitment to get the job done. Is that one of your skills? Number 4 was about honesty and integrity. Companies are looking for people who don't lie, cheat, or steal, or waste company time or resources. Number 5, punctuality. Being on time every time. Submitting work on time and sticking to the schedule set out for them. This is definitely a soft skill, believe it or not, and it should be on your list if you're this type of person. Number 6 was being flexible and adaptable, able to make changes and embrace changes. Someone who adapts quickly and easily to new situations, and someone who is seen as cooperative. Number 7, problem-solving skills, creative and open-minded, practical and helpful. Number 8, similar to number 1, but this one talks to interpersonal skills. Someone who, when working with others, is seen as kind and friendly. They relate well to other people, and they have a positive contribution when they're working as part of a team. Again, make sure you're taking note of all these skills that you have as well. Number 9, teamwork. Respectable and cooperative, someone who shares and contributes and is able to accomplish goals as part of a team. And number 10, someone with initiative and motivation, a self-starter who is self-directed and self-motivated and looks for things to do, so they don't wait to be prompted, but they're actually on the lookout for new things to do. From all of these skills, what can you add to your skills inventory? Do you have a positive attitude? Are you punctual? Do you have great teamwork or interpersonal skills? Make sure you've taken note of these on your worksheet. And for any that you don't have, now that I've identified for you that this is what companies are looking for, what do you think you need to work on? Or are there someone here that you have a little bit of this skill, but maybe it needs to be stronger before you start heading out on job interviews? Take note of that as well.